Speaking of other trades, I've got 5 quick trade candidates for the NFL this offseason. First one might surprise you, and that is DK Metcalf, wide receiver, Seattle Seahawks. He's entering the final year of his deal with the Seahawks. He really had an up and down season last year, getting a little older, fell behind Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle on the depth chart as far as targets. That's clearly JSN's offense at this point. He's just 27, so he could get a pretty decent market. I expect suitors, especially teams that need a red zone threat, want a big body, a guy that they can still feel good about targeting in big situations. I could absolutely see the Seahawks looking to move on from DJ Metcalf, especially too because you look at where the Seahawks are at as far as the running game. You got Zach Charbonnet, you got running backs there that they're trying to feature more, and McDonald is changing that offense in Seattle, so it's not the same style of offense we saw a couple years ago when Pete Carroll was at the helm. I mean, Kenneth Walker III, they're so high on him, and they're really trying to zig while the rest of the league is zagging, and they got JSN, who made the Pro Bowl this season. So DJ Metcalf could be that guy. Then kind of an obvious choice, number 2, Deebo Samuel. So it wasn't a great year for Deebo Samuel in San Francisco. We kind of handled things in the media. I mean, the optics of him kind of yelling at special team guys and kickers, it just didn't feel great for him. And there have been reports out there that have indicated that he's been given permission to seek a trade partner. So the 49ers have a lot of things they need to do this offseason as far as their priority list, but you're not thinking of Deebo Samuel right now, right? You're thinking of trying to get an extension done with Brock Purdy after the 2 seasons with the injuries that Samuel's had. I think he's expendable. I truly do. I think that the versatility that he has, he's a very different type of wide receiver. Been in the league for 6 years. I think if you are the 49ers, you look at the year you had, now's the time to move on from Deebo Samuel. I think he can help a team, but I think that it's got a little stale with Deebo in San Francisco. Third, Kirk Cousins, the Falcons. Of course, they made the biggest headlines of the draft last season. Everyone thought the Falcons are insane. They're out of their mind. What is Atlanta doing by drafting Michael Penix Jr. and trading up to get him? A lot of doubt because they had just signed Kirk Cousins. Well, Kirk Cousins didn't have a good season. And yes, the trade would be tricky because he does have a no trade clause. So they would have to find a suitor that he would waive that for. But it makes all the sense in the world. Cousins can still be a professional NFL quarterback. I mean, is he one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the world? I think you'd certainly say that's the case. So look for Kirk Cousins to get traded. This one's very interesting to me that I was thinking of. T. Higgins. T. Higgins looks like a classic tag and trade guy. Last season, the Chiefs with L'Jarius Sneed, they tagged him, they traded him, and T. Higgins can certainly be that guy, a perfect tag and trade candidate, because the Bengals need to get talent around Joe Burrow. And if you're not going to pay T. Higgins, you have to find a way to maximize what he can give you in his return. And they're going to want more than just a comp pick. You got to get more than a compensatory pick for T. Higgins, who's going to be the best free agent receiver available. So if that's the case, that is the move for the Cincinnati Bengals. And you look at kind of what the Eagles did. I mean, look what the Eagles did last season. You went out there and you got a Saquon Barkley. Look what the Ravens did with a Derrick Henry. I mean, there's a lot of moves you can make where you don't always have to retain your guys and you can upgrade your offense around Joe Burrow. Last guy I think is interesting is Garrett Willson. Garrett Wilson, a league coming out of Ohio State, hasn't been in the greatest quarterback situation with the New York Jets. And there was some talk that he was going to force his way out of New York if he did not see what he wanted to see, which was Aaron Rodgers leaving the organization. So he's another guy that makes a lot of sense just because if he's not bought into what they're doing in New York, other teams know he has the potential to be a number one. So if the Jets are in full rebuild mode with new head coach Aaron Glenn, you already moved on from Aaron Rodgers, if Garrett Wilson isn't a part of your future long term, might as well collect the assets and move on now. What must be done eventually should be done immediately.